Going on, everybody? George here, Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. It's a beautiful day out. Not much going on around here. Hope you guys had a good Tuesday. Hope you're off of work already. If you're not, keep chunking away. And time's probably coming pretty quick. Casey, what's going on, brother?
Not a whole lot, man. I'm just trying to see us on YouTube here real quick, which I have it up now, so we're good to go. Looks like we already got Will Newman in there, man. The only non-racer out of everybody still watches us for entertainment, though. Maybe we'll get him on one day. But no, man. Let's talk a little bit. If anybody hasn't seen it yet, we did a what we call a virtual 8th mile, where we just kind of everybody that couldn't go to the race, couldn't go to the OG Million. We just wanted to kind of give that feeling of you're standing at the finish line with your buddies and you're watching the last, when we start, about 14 pairs left. So the most exciting rounds there are on the biggest day there is at the OG Million, who's going to be crowned the 2021 OG Million champ. And we were down there kind of round by round. Oh, man, he's dropping him. Oh, man, he's doing this. You know, the type of stuff that gets you really hyped up. So, George, what were your feelings on that?
I really enjoyed it. It gave a little bit different feel to be able to talk instead of us being on the phone and some of us watching the big screen. It gave us a little bit better of a feel of what everybody else was thinking while things were happening live. Everybody knows once you lose a race in a bracket race and you're there at the actual race that most of the drivers, the majority of people are going to meet up at the 8th mile. So we wanted to try and recreate that. I think we did a good job. Several people chimed in. We had some really good giveaways from thanks to BRG Motorsports, 3D printed motorsports parts. And definitely, I had a great time. I definitely had fun interacting over the cell phone. You know, we just calling people and people calling us and kind of getting an understanding of what people thought about it. I don't know. How'd you feel about it besides that?
Man, I was feeling like I thought it was Scotty's day finally, and it just didn't work out for him. I was telling our buddy, you'll see his logo. Let's see if I can do this right, like everybody likes to do in these YouTube videos. Is it right there? Is that it, George? Am I pointing to Champ's performance right there? Man, he's been showing out lately, has he not? I mean, at the end, he's been, what, the last month? He came out of retirement the last month and showed everybody that he's still there, you know. So he said he's on his way to the guaranteed million here in a couple weeks, and maybe old Champ's going to pull out that $1 million.
Yeah, keep the fire going up, Champ. I won't call you what Brad Gephardt called you. I'm pretty sure you guys are pretty good friends, and we're getting there, but we ain't quite there, you know. So I'm not going to speak to you how Brad Gephardt does, but definitely good job out there. Keep up the good work. I want to say, Caroline McCarty, you keep up the good work as well. Enjoying watching you and the rest of your family race, to be honest. It's a thrill to watch you guys drive. So don't line up next to me in the pits now. I don't want to have to put you on a trailer, and that goes for everybody. I'm going to say that every time. I just want you to know it, okay? But definitely good job. And if you guys don't know Champ's performance parts, I mean, he's got whatever you want, shipping 2 days minimum right now, generally. So it's like order from him, and he's probably going to get you parts you're having trouble finding right now with the woes that we're going through in our country currently. So definitely give Champ a shot at getting you what you need for sure. So what do you think, Casey? You want to cut to the Drag Champ Minute over there?
Yeah, let's go to the Drag Champ Minute real quick.
We'll see you guys in a moment.
What's up, guys? Gary Don here, back again for another Drag Champ Minute, where we bring you what's hot in sportsman drag racing. And what everybody's talking about this week is the OG Million. That's right. The 26th running of the Mickey Thompson Million went down in Georgia last week, and we have your recap. So let's kick it off at the beginning of the week. Jeremy Hancock took out Peeps Pennington for the 20K warm-up. On Wednesday, it was Will Holloman over Gage Birch for $50K. Gage Birch took his little Mustang to the quarters on Wednesday night's warm-up race, went to the final the next day. So it was a big weekend for Gage Birch. Will Holloman pulling down another big money score. Thursday's race didn't get finished until Saturday, so we'll roll right into Friday's Million, where Adam Russell, in the blown dragster, Al Capone, as he's called, takes out Scotty Richardson in the final. This was Scotty's second million in a year. After winning in Bristol last year, he had to settle for runner-up after he missed the tree in the final. But Adam Russell getting a big win. On Saturday, Scotty returns to the final round, this time in the 50K, Thursday's 50K, where he beats Aaron McCullough for the $50,000 win. So Scotty gets the runner-up in the million and follows it up with a $50K win on Saturday. And they finished up the weekend on Saturday with the Saturday $50K, where Philip Pennington takes out Brian Folk, for the $50K win. And let's just give a little recap on the Pennington brothers. The Texas boys came ready to hunt, and I'm going to tell you, because Peeps got the runner-up on Wednesday's $20K. Michael went down to the split in the million, was deep. And then Philip coming out on Saturday with the 50 grander. So the Pennington boys made their trip from Texas worthwhile. And a couple other notes. Caroline McCarty sure made a run at that million. I think she got down to 14 cars before she went red on Friday night. And Kevin Brannon, last year's $1 million winner, goes all the way down to 7 cars before Scotty Richardson collects his bounty. And ladies and gentlemen, that is what's hot in sportsman drag racing this week. Follow dragchamp.com for more news, results, and info. Back to you guys.
All right. Thanks over there, Mr. Drag Champ, Mr. Gary Don. Certainly can't thank you enough for the Drag Champ Minute, guys. Give you a quick update on how things went with that OG million. If you were there, I'm sure you had a really good time. It looked like a really good showing. If we can recap that just real quick, as far as for the level of racers, the amount of people in the right behind the burnout box whenever the finals went off was pretty. That would have been pretty fun to be part of, if I must say so myself. So, what do you think, Casey?
Man, one of these days, old GBR crew is going to have to get down there, are we not?
That's a fact. Sooner than later, of course. I'd love to get there as soon as possible. But hey, right around the corner, we got Halloween, and I know for one. We had Cody Pullidge on not too long ago. I think he's having a race over at I-30, guys, that you definitely want to get a chance to look at. Casey, I'm going to slide that flyer in here. What do you think about this thing?
Man, the thing that I think about this thing is that you can double an entire weekend of $7,500 to win for only $500. That's what I think. I like that deal a lot.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Not to mention $2,000 per day to run on the bottom.
Right.
$150. You know what I'm saying? That's good stuff. Not to mention, there's all kinds of shootouts here. You see the high rollers races,
and that's a good deal too, man. Because here's the thing: typically in these shootout races, the winner gets something, or at best, the winner and the runner-up get something. But here, you got a $10,000 to win high roller race, and I'm sure Cody's going to let you split that up if you so choose to do so. So don't worry about that. But it's $275 entry, and the big deal is, it's not your regular gambler's race. It's going to be like 100 cars or something. This thing is capped at 64 cars. $275 gets you in. He's paying you all the way back to, I believe, the round of 16. So you're getting your money back if you get to 16 cars. You don't have to win the whole shebang to be able to get this high roller money. And he's even throwing one for the no boxers for 32 cars, only $100.
Man, and as I slide us back into the scene there, Casey, definitely want to highlight. Looks like there's a lot of events going on, either for the racers family that's in the pit crew, whatever you got going on there, as well as the fans that show up to spectate. Got costume contests, you got trick-or-treating. I seen I-30's page put out there. Don't forget, head over to Sam's or wherever you go to get a big bulk of candy for the kids to come by in their costumes. I know my kids are dressing up as PJ Masks. I seen a little gecko running around here yesterday. So Mr. Catboy or whatever, that was kind of fun. They're pretty excited about it. But grab some candy, come on out to the track, enjoy some trick or treating. Best decorated golf cart, and there's three different age groups on the costume contest too. So
that's right.
A lot going on there. And last but not least, for sure, there's a junior dragster race going on, and I think it's $100 to enter. For 600.
That's what I was actually just looking for on my phone here, because before I said it, I wanted to be sure. But Cody said, yeah, go ahead, man, and bring your juniors to the CP Promotions race. Juniors will have a great time, get to race, get to trick-or-treat, man, get to do a little bit of everything for the kids. So it should be a really fun time out there. October 29th, 31st, that'd be this weekend, is it not? It is?
It is.
Over there at I-30 Dragway, so everybody get on over there.
Hey, definitely. I spoke to my wife yesterday. She's off work Saturday, but it is her mom's birthday, so happy birthday to you out there from George to you, mother. And definitely would be in attendance. I still may go Sunday, however, because it is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. If I'm not mistaken myself, As a matter of fact, I'm not mistaking myself. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Hey,
So
you
make
can
it
single
a good
entry,
weekend.
single day entry for only $150. Run $7,500. Can't beat it.
I heard that, man. I heard that. So yeah, man, what we got going on today? I know it's open discussion day here at Going Bracket Racing. There's a lot of things to discuss and a lot of things that we can get off into for sure. Of course, we're going to visit into this staging situation that I've been seeing a lot about, where people are starting to wonder, all right, what is this this thing with cars staging and activating that timer, and what can we do to combat it? So here at Going Bracket Racing, we feel like a lot of people come here, and this is a place where you can voice your opinion, and it's probably going to get heard at this point. So I'm going to start off with you, Casey. What do you think's the remedy, in my opinion, to, or is there even need for a remedy? Take your stance. This is the quote unquote police of staging or not staging, whatever. I don't care. What's your opinion on this whole turning your wheel to turn the stage beam?
Well, I think first of all, we should kind of explain, how the staging process works as far as NHRA is concerned, and then how auto start works, because there is actually no rule about any type of auto start scenario in an NHRA rule book. I looked through it today. I literally searched the word staging. It said there were 67 cases of staging in the NHRA rule book. I looked at every single one. The only thing in there that says that is in the NHRA rule book is on race procedures, section 2, page 3. It says a reasonable amount of time will be permitted for the drivers to stage. The time limit will be determined at the sole and absolute discretion of the official starter, which is why Bruno and Mason got thrown out, because sole discretion. So there it is right there. So we know our feelings on that whole scenario for NHRA, but there it is right there. So that guy did have the power to do everything he did, et cetera, et cetera. You can kind of go into that, but that's that. No mention of auto start. So auto start. How auto start works. It was pretty much, I guess, invented, you could say, designed for local type racing, bracket racing events, things where your track staff, your starter might also be the guy using the mops to mop everything up and checking to make sure nobody's oiling the track down. And, sure, he can't sit there and just throw that switch every time. And more importantly, they're making it to where if you use auto start, it's fair for everybody, because the starter can't be like, oh, well, I know so-and-so, I'll just tell him that I'm going to hold the tree longer and then hang this guy out while he's on the trans brake, blah, blah, blah. Well, so how auto start works. Whenever both cars are pre-staged and the first car lights the stage bulb, the second car has a predetermined time to stage before the tree automatically starts with no starter input. This is from AutoStart's website, by the way. That's why I keep looking at the side screen. So I'm reading it exactly how it was listed on their website. And then it says, this is referred to as a timeout if the second car fails to stage before the system times out, whatever that predetermined set time is. That's not 7 or 10, I found out. It's just, usually it's 7 or 10. But that can be set to whatever you want to set it at for the track. I guess you have to ask, or I know some time slips say what the auto start is, but the way it works is at 0.6 of a second, if that stage bulb, if Casey is pre-staged, George is pre-staged. If Casey turns on the pre-stage light, the stage light, sorry. So Casey is staged, George isn't. 0.6 after Casey stages is whenever that countdown starts. And typically the minimum is 7 seconds. So you have 7 seconds to get in. If you wait 8 seconds, it's going to red light you. If you get in at any other time before 7 seconds, it's fair game and the tree's going to drop.
Man, that's a great way to start this whole conversation out, understanding what the heck are we talking about, number one. Everything has a lot to do with this auto start, and we're starting to see gamesmanship be played around auto start. For example, and anybody who watched the OG Million saw several cars go in as early as they could, turn that wheel to the left or right, and bump it in until they got the light and turn the wheel back. Turn the stage light right back off.
Now,
so, and Sean Pinkerton says it best here, to piggyback off you. He says track determines auto start time. That is 100% correct.
Right.
It differs track to track for sure. generally, rule of thumb, it's 7 seconds. So in my head, I'm 7 seconds everywhere I go. That it's generally no less than 7 seconds. So that's my thought process. So what I think is the fuss, or even the thought process, is how do we combat somebody turning that stage, but making that wheel go left and turning off that stage and starting the other side's timer? How do we stop that from happening? Excuse me.
Number one, if first of all, they can do that all they want, because if you're not pre-staged yet, it doesn't matter. As it has to be, both guys have to be pre-staged for that to even be a factor to begin with. George Hoff is over here actually in the YouTube chat, and he says his thoughts are a 15-second shot clock would solve all of our problems. So I would assume he means by the time the first guy pre-stages, you would have to somehow figure it out. Then you would need starter input again, because obviously if I'm in a door car and I'm running a dragster, if I do a burnout at the same time, I could get in that pre-stage beam before he even puts it in reverse.
Correct.
If I wanted to.
Correct.
So he would probably, I would assume, mean then once both cars cross the line. So basically once bulbs flicker, I guess, or something like that, then the starter would have to push a button, and then at that point, whoever pre-stages, that starts 15 seconds. That could potentially work. It's just you would need starter input, unfortunately.
And I like the shot clock. I like that idea, George Hoff. That's awesome to me, honestly, because then you're going to get rid of this whole thought of hanging out to dry and staging dual this, that, and the third. No, it's time to race. So any promoter would probably be pretty on board with that shot clock idea, just to keep their races moving on through there. I'm looking at Sean Pinkerton here. He says only way to do that is a .60 commitment after the stage bulb has been lit. So basically, what he's saying is kind of the level that I feel on. This is how I think.
Oh, I got you. So
you know what I mean?
He's saying once that bulb's been lit for 0.6 seconds, if you back out, it drops at red.
That's correct. That right there should be called stage lock. Once you turn that bad boy on, and as a matter of fact, it should keep track. So if you turn it on and you turn it back off, you turn it on, at least the flicker protection needs to be there. Everybody likes to stage shallow, especially the dragsters. So I don't want to stop their ability to stage shallow, right? But once that stage light goes on, you need to leave that stage light on. It doesn't need to be able to be manipulated to where you can turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. No, it shouldn't do that, because essentially the way I see it is if it goes past a certain amount of time, the other opponent's staging limit, the 7 seconds, that limit is being hit. The computer doesn't know the light's going off and going on and not staying solid. It's still going to count down, and it's going to save. All right, I went from 7 to 6. Okay, it lights off. It stops. Okay, I'm down to 3. Oh, the lights off again.
Well, it doesn't stop. The countdown's going no matter what. It's going. Once it starts, it's going.
Not for the other car in the other lane is where I think a lot of people are starting to quote unquote exploit this. I could be wrong too, guys, in the chat. Let me know what you think. But I think this is being exploited because it's starting that staging timer, not for the person who's turning it on and turning it off, for the person in the other lane that hasn't even started their staging process yet. That's what I think's going on. So
it's first of all, at the end of the day, the main thing is that first of all, if you don't have a routine, no one can mess up your routine. That's the way to be. Nobody can argue with that. The best racer and the worst racer will say the exact same thing. If you don't necessarily have I need to do this routine, no one can get you out of your routine because you don't have one. So basically what I'm saying is don't absolutely need to go in last and don't absolutely need to go in first. Just go in whenever you feel like it. And like I said, if they want to turn the bulb on and turn it back off, just go in, because they're already thinking about something else. They should be thinking about that top bulb coming on.
In a perfect world, I agree with you 100%. In a perfect world. But there are those who do have a routine, a quote unquote, this is how I race. And in this case, this is where George Hoff's idea comes into it's perfection, if you ask me, to where you have a shot clock that says, get your butt in there and let's go racing. And the person who doesn't turn on the stage light after the shot clock goes off will get an automatic red light. I like that because people have their game. People have their how I feel when I go in first or second. They've got it. It's there. So in an ideal world, I think it would work pretty good. I see something here from Brandon Barker. Staging timer is for the tree as a whole, not per racer. Only way to solve the issue of someone else playing with the staging bulb is to stage your car and don't sit there waiting. I like his thought. I like that thought process. And it does. You're right. It works for both people after that staging light's gone off. But if you sit there and you trigger that staging timer enough, maybe you'll get a quick tree. Who knows? You know what I mean? Somebody knows what's going on there. So there's games being played, and there's a reason why that game's being played. I can't sit here and act like I know why they're doing it, right? But I have my theory. This is just my theory, and it could be totally wrong. I've got Jim Balkert here. He says, I just don't see it as a problem. Only a problem for people who have a problem staging last. Right. That is also true. It's 100% true.
And because what that does, the goal of this game or process or whatever you want to call it is if you have the ability, and I've never seen it done in a door car. I don't know that it's possible. Maybe somebody can do it. I can't do it. I have two of them can do it. But I know a dragster can do it. We've all seen it a million times. We saw it this weekend a million times. But what that does is that if you can do that, it forces the other guy to stage first. You have, unless they did it first to you, which that would be interesting. That would be really interesting to see that happen, that game be played. Right. I would like to see that now that I mention it. So let's let it happen one more time and make sure both guys can do it. Right. But because I don't care either way. They can do. If they do it to me, I'll go in. I don't care. It doesn't matter. But the goal, the main premise is that if this guy, whoever does it first to the other guy, it forces that other guy to stage first, and that's not necessarily a problem. In fact, it's good gamesmanship on the people who can do it, in my opinion, because that's kind of a lot of car control, really, if you think about it.
So here's a good one from Sean Pinkerton, too. It says here, if both cars are pre-staged and driver A, whoever it is, whatever lane, doesn't matter, gets to the commitment period of 0.60, the auto start clock is triggered. What happens is they can turn off the stage bulb because both cars are not fully staged, setting the tree to fire. Right? Starting it. This is why, in my opinion, that once you set the tree to show you staged, leave the stage bulb on. This allows the other lane to know auto start is on. That is what we're talking about right now. That light turning off is the kicker. That's the kicker. Auto start's on. So, either the staging lock needs to be enacted where if you stage that bad boy, if you turn that light off after a certain amount of flicker protection, fine, right? Everybody knows you can flicker it and just bump it a little bit again and you're in. But these other racers know I can flicker this bad boy, turn it on even, and turn it right back off if I want to. That ought to be deemed automatic disqualification after you've met this commitment, in my opinion.
So here's what happens, though, is so whenever they're doing this, if you notice, people think that they cut the wheel and it turns it off. But actually what's happening is if you look at this pin, if you do this, the pin gets closer to the beam. So they're actually bumping in like this, sideways. They get in, and then you do this, and it's just barely there. So basically what it's doing is most of these guys aren't trying to turn it on and turn it off and turn it back on and turn it back off, in my opinion. They're trying to know that they have one more bump and they're in the beam. That's what I think.
A lot of these people are going in there strategically to turn that light off if they don't want to stage second. If they want you to stage first, but it's a duel going on. They're sitting there they're doing it on purpose too consistently for it to not be intentionally going on and coming back off. I can understand if you want to get as close as you can to get as shallow as you can, but when that light flickers, that light shouldn't turn back off. Not to mention, it shouldn't turn back off multiple times in one race. You can turn it if you can turn it on and stage your car that good, and turn that light off or on at will. You have cards in your hand, in my opinion. It is definitely strategy.
You can't have the stage light hold on if you're not in stage, and here's why. So my car, my Nova, I have the line lock hooked up to the delay box because just the way I stage, it binds the chassis up and it makes it surge forward when I get on the two-step. So that's why I did it that way. Well, what happened is, and this only happened once, because I can flicker the stage bulb in that car because it's got really, really good brakes on it and just the way the chassis moves. But the problem is that one time this year, and like I said, it's only happened once, I was bumping, it flickered the light, I set the trans brake, and the stage light wasn't on. So now I have to let off the delay box, let it time out so I can roll forward some more to get in that one more bump to get in. But the point is that if that light would have stayed on because I touched the beam, then I'm automatically red because I think I'm staged and I'm not. So that can't really be a thing because I'm sure I'm not the only one that's happened to. That's happened to me at least 5 or 6 times since I've been driving.
Definitely an interesting concept, interesting take on it for sure. But again, this is happening too often for it to be just a coincidence. This is happening as a lot of people are saying in the chat here. It's a level of gamesmanship. People are using this as a get in your head type of deal,
Right.
So
and it goes back to if you don't play their game, then it doesn't matter. I mean, it just is what it is. As long as you don't need to stage last, as long as you don't care who stages first or last, this cannot affect you.
Also a true statement. It is. And a lot of people in here are saying, hey, I've had to change my routine or the way I approach this whole drag racing, bracket racing thing because of how I've been treated once or twice before. So a lot of people are learning from somebody else's woes with this particular stream even. We watched this happen at the OG Million. We've watched it even before then. Okay, I've seen it live in person to where this has happened. So definitely thank you for allowing me to learn from your woes. Motor Mania, you're the best because I got to watch it there too. So special shout out to Motor Mania for that. But get to the chat on YouTube. See if you got anything on YouTube to talk about there as far as for this particular subject.
We got George Hoff's chiming in a lot here, actually. We got David Statham saying, what's up, GBR? Got Troy messing with you, actually, in here, like he does a lot of times. George Hoff is saying, yes. Let's see. I must have missed that part, what he was talking about at the time, but he does say all tracks should use stage lock. Now, George, what exactly is stage lock? Because what I understand it to be is once you're in the pre-stage, then you're in the pre-stage and you can't back out anymore. Is that correct or not?
I do believe it's the stage. Once you're in the stage, you can't back out.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
Which is perfect in to combat this whole thing. If you like that bulb, and I seen somebody mention it in the chat, and I'm sorry, guys, I can't remember who said this. I think it was Kevin Grider. But the track official has the ability to warn you one time. You like that stage light, and you just want to turn it off, track official will warn you, right? You do it again, hey, consequences. But that stage lock, if you like that button after a certain commitment, you shouldn't be allowed to back out of the stage. All right? Especially if the other car is already pre-staged. Now, I can understand some people who get in there and accidentally bump 1, 2, and they've got the stage light, but the opponent he's not even close to staging yet, and you don't want to force his hand, so you turn that light back off. Hey, I got that. That right there, it should only be a rule that's applied if the other car is in the pre-stage as well. That stage light needs to stay on.
That all involves starter input, though, is the issue, and the whole reason auto start is there is so you don't need starter input.
But I don't think that would be a part of starter input. Once staging lock is there, it's a facet of the system. If you turn on that light, the system knows you're staged. So if you back out, the system knows you back out. Starter doesn't have to do anything. The timing system should essentially red light that other driver and not have to be done by the starter.
And that's my point. But in the example that you were just saying, though, if you get in and then you want to back out because you don't want to force your man's hand over here, now it's red light, is what I'm saying.
Got you. Yeah, and only way that should be looked over, not even paid attention to, is if the opposite driver is not at the pre-stage level. If he's at pre-stage, hey man, red light. Starter guy can back them out. Yeah, come on, back out. You got in way too early. One thing I absolutely hate is a rule that says at the starter's discretion. Hard rules eliminate subjectivity in enforcing staging rules, as well as biases, as well
Right.
as that's my buddy in the going bracket racing car. Hey, that's me. Hey, that's George. We can't red light George. I ain't see nothing. Yeah, you're right, Sean. I do like taking things out of control of the starter and making the system actually do it. I believe it's already created to do as much. And those of you who are out there who might work with these timing systems, hey, maybe we're dropping a nugget for you that can definitely enhance bracket racing. I think it'll help Pro Stock too because they've gone through a few problems with this type of thing too. So definitely some good nuggets there from Sean
Right.
Pennington.
And George Hoff says also he hates to say it, but 99% of the issue is being done by the younger racers. Sorry, guys.
Well, that's
hey, man,
okay.
we're not that young anymore, and I've already talked to George about this, and I know at this point, about 20 years ago, I thought I needed to stage last real bad, and I'd be in staging duels like crazy too. And you're probably right, George. I mean, I don't do that anymore. I don't feel the need to do it anymore, and I don't know why that is. But
I can tell you why.
always,
You've
go
adapted.
ahead.
You've adapted.
Yeah.
You've figured out, just like a lot of people in here are saying, play your game.
Right.
Play the game the way you're going to play it regardless. I've figured it out. So if I have to be honest to you, there's a few people that'll never be affected by this whole staging thing. What's his name? Tricky Ricky Jones?
Always gets in.
He gonna get in there before you get there in the first place. So it don't matter to him. My old
And he
man.
wins as much as anybody.
You know, they're gonna stay. They're going in the stage. Come on in here is basically the way they see it. So definitely, in the younger generation, it does seem like the younger generation is who this is kind of pointing the finger at. I'm pretty sure there may be a few others out there who know how to do it, just as gamemanship, whatever you want to call it. So, but
like
definitely,
I said, it all revolves back around to if you don't care if you go in first, then this will never happen to you.
so let's talk about this too. And this is we can stay on any subject you guys want, but I want to touch this because I think I saw Sugar Shane post this earlier where he said, "Do we get rid of the pre-stage altogether?" The answer to that question is not to me.
It'll take a year to get in at that point.
Yeah, we're gonna have some serious trouble if we take away the cover page, for lack of better terms. Because if you can see exactly what I'm doing, or not having, hey, here's a heads up that the other car's almost ready. You didn't say on your mark, get set, go for no reason. You know, it's hey, on your marks, get set, a stage. What the crap? This is how we have raced in any facet of racing. Yellow, green.
Right.
You know.
Well,
so
I would say the main issue is that, it would get rid of the flickering or whatever, but here's the problem is that now people are going to start bumping in 2 feet away from the stage bulb rather than, 10 inches or something like that
sure.
from the beam to beam. So, I mean, that's going to take forever because you get a car like a chassis car, full tube chassis car, door car, you can't see where that box is. You know where it's at. I mean, you're close. You don't need somebody up here like a funny car. Come on, you know?
Right.
But at the same time, it's not like you're in a dragster or something and you can just look at it and you're like, oh, there it is.
Right.
So.
Right. What's your guys' thought on that? Taking away the pre-stage button, the pre-stage light. I've already given mine, of course, and I don't really know how else to say it, but there is enough of a quote unquote fuss around this topic going around in our sport right now that obviously we need to take some sort of look at it. Either be it give yourself a warning. The promoter tells the starter, if you see anybody playing this type of game, you give them a warning, and you have them let them be known. Keep the stage light lit. We're not going to condone this whole play the game, turn the light off. If you think you're going to go in there first, or you're trying to force somebody in first, hey. Otherwise, let's just have a straight up burn down. You know what I mean? Let's just burn it down. Whatever. So.
But the problem is then you get into now, if there's 5 or 6 guys trying to have burn downs and stuff, now our races, instead of getting finished at, I thought the OG Million, they got that thing ran quick.
That's true.
I couldn't believe how fast they ended up running that and everything. But the thing is what that still took probably till 11:30, midnight, something like that.
What I do
Now
know is
we're
live
finishing
from
at 3 in the morning.
what I do know is live from the virtual 8th mile. We were saying we're going to go live at 14 cars, not thinking it was going to be 9 o'clock when they got to 14 cars. So
Right.
I ain't even ate my dinner yet. That's where we were whenever we went live for live at the 8th mile. And if you guys don't know what that is, it is something that we've come up with here at Going Bracket Racing. I think we're going to do it again for the guaranteed million. Basically, we're going to go live during the certain amount of cars left to start breaking down who's left, breaking down who we think's going to win. We may have a giveaway or two. We haven't quite got that nailed down completely, but it's definitely a good time. So show up, bring your cooler. I mean, I'll have my something cooler, bring your cooler. Let's have some fun. Let's talk some drag racing in a little bit different light, instead of just, having to watch it on the big screen. And we'll probably even make a few phone calls. So if you guys want to be on Going Bracket Racing with your thought process of the race, hey, we'll set up a phone call and get you on the phone. So that's what the poll is all about. Did you make the GBR's first live from the virtual 8th mile event? And did you even know about it? So definitely going to try and get more of you guys out on that event next time. So,
right.
What we got,
no,
Casey?
man, it's, well, I don't know. I don't see any more comments rolling in about that, so we must have handled it, man.
I don't know. I got a couple over here. David Hearn says a comment here. He said, look at it this way. The street goofballs, pretty sure he's talking about street outlaws, use a flashlight. No system whatsoever. And they still complain of gamesmanship. So there's still going to be a way to game it. Jimmy Noble's over here. He says, stupid suggestion. I think the same about getting rid of the pre-stage. Stop the games. All right, yes, stop the games. Look, I don't want to get rid of the pre-stage button. So if you guys are out there turning your wheel and turn the light on, turn it back, stop doing that, man. I don't want to race without pre-stage. And neither do you. So come on, man. You're going to mess it up for everybody. We got a couple more here. I got Raymond. Raymond, I'm not going to even try to say your last name. I think it's... I ain't going to try it. He says, taking the pre-stage away would increase the games played, but otherwise wouldn't change a thing. Nothing needs to change in the sport. It's part of the intrigue of the sport. I agree with that. Same as reply hurts professional sports from a fan's perspective. The best part is the discussion after. I get that too. So,
that's true. That's true, and it brings more and more and more eyes. The controversy is what brings the eyes. Why do you think the street outlaws are such a big deal? It's because of controversy. It doesn't. It has absolutely nothing to do with their style of racing, really, like everybody thinks, because they're all pro mods. Like, we have pro mod racing, we have outlaw pro mod racing too, especially in the South, and there's no difference. It's just the controversy. If they filmed a regular grudge race at your home track on Test and Tune night, it is Street Outlaws. It's probably better than Street Outlaws because there's a lot of stuff they can't show on TV happening.
And Raymond, that was well said. Raymond Keown. I got you now, buddy. He taught me how to say his last name. I'm sorry, I don't like messing up people's last name. Mine's is Atchison, and I get Atkinson and Atkinson. I have been messing up some names today. I have to apologize, guys. If I mess your name up, please don't slap me if you see me. But you got any comments? Because I got a bunch of them flying through over here on the YouTube, on the Facebook channel. Jim Balkert says there's always going to be games. Figure out how to deal with it. True statement. True statement. I just don't like games that could amount to somebody being disqualified without necessarily knowing they're about to be DQ'd. And I think that's why that game's being played. So I definitely want it to be fair on both sides. I see somebody in the chat, Mr. Al Peever, top dragster champion himself. He says as an older racer.
His son might be the top dragster world champion this year.
I saw that.
Unless Al gets him.
Oh, I saw that, man. And that's pretty neat, by the way. But Al Peever says as an older racer, games only work if you let them get to you. Do your thing and not pay attention to the other lane. Man, it's a lot of truth in that. Obviously, some of us have already adapted to how to combat the issue in the first place. And maybe that's just the know-how. Maybe that's just what people need to know about. Hey, yes, there's this game that people are playing. in the staging lights. If you happen to see this while you're staging, maybe you ought to switch to plan B. So be it. But as long as it's in your repertoire of things to do, go do it.
Well,
I know how to do it for myself. But in this case, some people don't. Some people don't have the ability to get around it.
and guess what? You just heard that exact thing. Do whatever it is you need to do to win a race. You just heard that from Al Peebler, top dragster champion, not just top dragster racer, top dragster champion, saying just do your own thing. Don't worry about it. If that guy's going to flicker, the bulb on and flicker it back off, who cares? You still got 7 seconds. No big deal. It's not any different than if he already went in and staged and now you're bumping in, you still got the same 7 seconds left. So it doesn't matter. Just, as long as you don't care if you stage first or last, this will never affect you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And we've gotten that comment quite a few times. Play the game how you want to play the game, and so be it. So what you got on the YouTube side, Casey? Anything of interest?
Yeah, we got several guys asking right now are in here looking like they're talking about really hard spot drops on the big end is what they're mostly concerned about. Guys locking the tires up at the finish line.
Let's talk about it.
They say so. Troy, that was Troy's thing he was saying, and then Dave Statham says at his track, if there was tire smoke on the top end, it would disqualify the racer. And let's see. And then Alan's chiming in on it all goes back to what he's always said. It's all the numbers and best package wins.
Yep, we can definitely talk about that dumping it, dropping the brake through the floorboard. I think it was Donovan the Doughboy Williams. Man, he dropped that car so hard the wheel came off the ground. It's on video. I mean, literally, the wheels came off the ground. On the right side of his car. That's how hard he dropped. So, shockingly and great driving, I'm pretty sure you had to go to the bathroom after that now. That's a nice looking car. I'm pretty sure you had to go make sure you didn't mess your pants up. But he dropped it hard enough to where I thought he was going to wreck it, to be honest. Did you see that round or no?
Well, he definitely can handle the car, that's for sure.
True that. True that.
But yeah, man, it's I don't know. It gets hard at times because the thing is sometimes the track can get slick on the other end, and if there's dew on the track, first of all, you're going to get out of control. But second of all, the tires won't smoke. So, I don't know. I mean, I can see, like, realistically, what is excessive braking? Does excessive braking mean you crash? Does excessive braking mean that what does that mean? Because we also saw two guys at, I don't remember if it was the triple threat race or which one it was, but it just so happened we were on the phone while we were watching it. And we saw two guys both dialed the exact same dial, and one ran like 12 mile an hour slower than the other guy to run the exact same dial. So that was clearly a drop, which means that car was capable of probably running 20 mile an hour faster than he actually ran. So I don't know how hard that drop had to actually be. But I do know that both of those guys were completely in control. So what do you even say is excessive braking? Because you almost have to crash to even say that was a thing, in which case you disqualified yourself because you had no car.
So I will say this, how to define it. That is one of the main objectives in law. I was going to be a lawyer at one time. Well, most of the time, if you just object to what does that mean, you're gonna get away with whatever argument you're trying to make. You can play the I don't know what that means game quite a bit, right? So let's define it, okay? And this is I guess this should be more of a question. Should we have in our sport a definition of what excessive braking is? Smoke off the tires. I'm looking at in the tower. You dialed 456 and you went 456 at 139 or some crap. Is that not excessive braking, or are they not using the brake at all, Casey?
It depends, because the other thing is how do you know that that very same guy didn't spray it off the starting line all the way to half track, and he was actually only a 520 car anyway, but he was acting like a 450 car up to half track, and now he's just running the mile an hour he's supposed to run. Like, that's what I'm saying. How do you define any of that? It's all hearsay, and you can't, just like we were talking about the starter input thing, you can't take hearsay. It's not a concrete definition. You can't do it.
So, but I think we need to make it a concrete definition. If we're gonna worry about it at all, if anybody has the ability to say excessive braking at any event, then we need to put it into a concrete rule. Period. And the person who makes the call or the warning or the whatever needs to come down from the promoter's side of things. If excessive braking is turning into that big of a problem, then we need to actually figure out the rule. If it's not, let's keep doing it. I mean, I'm not an excessive braker, so it's never going to affect me, right? But there are people who think they need to put the brake through the floor pan at the mile an hour cone to try to kill 10 mile an hour. So, I mean, if we're gonna throw somebody out, let's at least put a definition on it.
Well, and the thing is too is you can't throw somebody out because it happened one time. You got to give them a warning first. And I can say this from not the experience of being thrown out, but from the experience of driving a new car that I'd never been in at the time. And the first time I went and drove it was at an actual race, and I was running a 440 dragster, and I'm dialed 630s. And I get down there, and I had never driven a full, like a back half type car before that had good shocks on the front and the back, and it weight transferred really well. Where the thing is, it weight transfers well, which means it's going like this down the track, right? And then it'll eventually settle out and go to ride height. Well, it also weight transfers this way really well. And I didn't know that until I was running a 440 dragster with one of those little blowers on it. And he's running 160 mile an hour. I'm running like 108. And I get down there and I'm like, he's not here, he's not here, he's not here. And I put the brakes through the floor and that car locked the tires up. And it was an accident. You know, it's just stuff like that happens. I mean, maybe for that same case, who's to say that Donovan wasn't down there and he was like, he lost track of the finish line. It's like, oh, there it is, you know, and, you know, I mean, it could have been an accident. So if anything, they could have gave him a warning and then been like, hey, don't do it again. And he wouldn't do it again.
So it could have been. It could have been. I got a few
But
comments.
you got to give a warning.
You definitely have to have a warning for sure. For sure. There has to be a, hey, I've seen you do this many times. If you don't stop, there's going to be consequences. Fine, there's a warning. Brian Cook here says cars are going way too fast to lock brakes up at the finish line. I agree with that. And then to do it every single time and expect that your odds of, number one, wrecking your own stuff, but then number two, potentially wrecking the other car in the other lane next to you, that they're not increasing. If you think you're going to lock up the brakes down there and just always have control of it, man, I think there's a lot of good drivers that have proven that theory incorrect. You know, so definitely agree with that, Brian. Jim Bowkert says tire smoke is a good rule. People have lost their lives locking up tires. I agree with that. You know, so I don't know, man. Eric White says excessive is when it causes loss of control of a vehicle on three wheels, locking up the brakes, spinning out on the finish line, or fishtailing. Yeah.
Hey,
the fishtailing part, that's kind of how Donovan was, and I'm telling you, I think he was on two wheels at one point. The back of that car was lopsided, kind of like what you're mentioning, where the car just dove hard and locked the tires up on you. It looked like he was doing a stoppie. If you guys ride motorcycles,
like I said, that's how those cars do, and it could have been the exact same scenario that I was in, where that might have been the hardest he had ever hit the brakes because he might have lost track of the finish line. This is the exact scenario, by the way, that happened to me because I'm looking for a car that's going 40 mile an hour faster than me, 50 almost, you know, and that's what I'm saying is that you know, it could have been a complete accident. You know, if anything's going to happen, they could have said, hey, man, that was too much. And he probably would have been like, yeah, like, I mean, he ain't going to disagree with you. You know, he's probably like, oh, crap, you know, and then he wouldn't do it again. And he didn't do it again the rest of the whole weekend. I mean, I'm sure that was a complete accident.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that's probably happened, you know, on a few occasions where it's just, hey, this isn't even how I raced, and I was actually dialed honest, but man, he wasn't there, and I didn't know he wasn't there until I got to the mile an hour cone in the first place. So, You know, I'm sure it's happened as an accident before, but I think those instances are gonna be a little fewer far in between than the ones that are happening on purpose. So, what you got over there on the YouTube?
Troy's saying in here, probably based on my stuff, he's saying that's like saying a red light from a new trans brake shouldn't count because it wasn't dialed in or working properly, or maybe it reacted faster. But a warning would be good. I mean, I can see where he's coming from on that too. Just so happens I also changed the valve body in that other car this year too. So everything has happened to me in that car. That's why that car isn't for sale. I've already got all the bad worked out of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, man, yeah, for sure. No, man, you know how we do it over here going bracket racing. It's a good time to come spend an hour. A lot of us are probably getting off of work, might be listening to it on the podcast at a later date. YouTube and Facebook is always active. Certainly give a look over at Speed Shark if you'd like to get you one of these going bracket racing T-shirts. The door trucks do rule, by the way. I'm gonna keep saying that. Casey, you know it's true. You might as well get you a door truck next. But
I tried getting one, but that guy wouldn't sell it to me.
He wouldn't sell it. He wouldn't trade you either. I remember you telling me you was going to go after it.
That was 2 cars ago, maybe.
Kevin Grider says, I've got a few warnings. Check this out. I got a comment from Vince McCullough. He's a 2-wheel driver. He says, as a motorcycle racer who races with cars, I have a real appreciation for those who don't get it sideways on the brakes.
Yeah,
I bet you, man. I bet you do, man. It's definitely something that if I was on 2 wheels, I would not want to look into the other lane and see somebody sliding out, sliding the back of the car through the dang finish line. So, I feel your pain there, brother. I feel that one for sure. So Casey, man, what we got? We got about 6 minutes left. What do you got? What do you got left?
Not a whole lot, man. Just got a whole lot of work to do on the race car, and it's effectively winter time for me. Got to run up. I'm off this Friday. Got to run up to H&F, see Doug, and get my parts picked up. He balanced my crank for me, balanced some new rods for me. So I got to get all that in order, put all the motor back together, build headers for the Firebird. Man, I got a lot of stuff to do. So,
yeah.
Other than that,
here's a good question here, real quick too, before we go. Jimmy Nobles chimes in here. He says, "Why not get rid of courtesy staging, since it's only a courtesy, right? So what if auto starts when you roll in?" Of course, he's talking hit the pre-stage. So anybody who doesn't want to get treated in a way, and we can do that. I don't see the problem with it. It's courtesy, right? Well, it would be courtesy to stop turning the light off and on. That's courtesy too, right? So
that's true.
I mean, if I want to be courteous, I'm just gonna jump in there while you still pulling up and just light both lights. Come on, you got 7 seconds to get in there anyway.
If you're a game player and you know you're running a game player that's going to do that, maybe that's your game.
And the last time I checked, courtesy staging, that's not no rule. That's just courtesy. And to piggyback off what Jimmy Nobles is saying, so if we got to play games, we can play games. I don't need the games. I mean, I'll wait on you to pre-stage or a stage. It doesn't matter. I don't care. And
don't forget the most important part of this entire conversation is 99% of people that aren't going to do that. They aren't going to do either. They're not going to roll in on you. They're not going to turn the light on and off on you. And 99% of us aren't going to do that. So just figure out who those are and figure out how you're going to deal with it yourself. And that's most importantly, the thing that everybody forgets is whatever happens between the guy in the right lane and the guy in the left lane is between the guy in the right lane and the guy in the left lane. And everybody else needs to stay out of it.
True. Hey, I'll tell you what, and we can end it on this because I'm going to ask you a question and get your answer on it. Would you say we need changes or leave everything the same?
I think it's just leave everything the same.
Yep.
It's all good. Everybody already knows how to deal with things that are happening right now.
Yeah. So had not it been for this stream, I probably would have said there might need to be some changes, some type of a timer put on once you pass the threshold of 0.60. You can't back out, or some type of rule to that. But if we have a way to combat it and we can do it, and all of us have our own routines of how we're going to race, then don't change anything. I like drag racing the way it is. As always, I don't like true start. So who knows? I'd probably grow not to like any type of a staging rule either. You know what I mean, on both cars. So no, man, it's definitely was a fun stream. I think we got a lot accomplished today here. Thank you to Going Bracket Racing fans, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're at on the podcast for chiming in. We look forward to seeing you guys soon. Don't forget about that virtual 8th mile. We'll give a little bit of a heads up. Maybe we can turn that into a big event. Let's get to talking about some drag racing while it's actually happening live. I will have the live feed there. You can kind of go back and look at our last, the first virtual 8th mile. It was pretty fun if you missed out. So, Casey, I'll let you close us out with the with our good old saying.
George's good old saying.
Uh-huh.
We'll see you next Tuesday.
See you later, guys. Hey, thanks for joining.